Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you. And let me begin. Today we see the people that have been segregated the most band together to form and in their minds is correct. You can see this happening with the LGBTQ 2+ community and Black rights movements. However, today I'll be discussing the Underground Railroad. The Underground Railroad, for those who didn't know, was a secret network that freed African Americans from enslavement to free states in the American South, to free states in the North, or to Canada. In the novel that helped, the character who symbolizes Harriet Tubman is Abilene Clark. The way she does this is by asking maids at her church and that she knows if they're willing to help her and another character named Skeeter write a book about being a maid in 1960s Jackson, Mississippi. My name is Jacob Abraham, and I am a 2012 graduate with an English major from the University of Ottawa. I feel as though the people who believe in equality and overcoming oppression should read the novel The Help, written by Catherine Stockett. So it's because it helped me to better understand how people will feel more empowered when they work as a group towards a common goal. I feel as though the people who believe in equality and overcoming oppression should read the novel The Help, written by Kathleen Stockett. It helped me to better understand how people will feel more empowered when they work together as a group towards a common goal. In the novel, Abilene and Minnie, both maids, work with a white journalist named Skeeter to help the story of Black maids in South during the 1960s. Minnie is known as the hothead and the one who can't hold her tongue. Abilene is more for understanding and a peacemaking maid. And finally, Skeeter is the enthusiastic and white journalist who wants to make things right for the maids. Get people to agree to tell their stories, but once Holly, the complete opposite character of Skeeter, gets a maid arrested, they all jump at the opportunity to tell their stories. Before I start to analyze the novel, has anyone previously read the book? Okay, so not many of you. So the first quote is on page 163. The quote states, "The tears rolled down. It's all them white people that break me, standing around the colored neighborhoods, white peoples with guns pointed at colored peoples. 'Cause who gonna protect our peoples? Ain't no colored policeman." So just to give context about that quote, white people with guns are in Abilene's neighborhood because Medgar Evans, a Black civil rights leader, was assassinated just a few blocks away from her. And the authorities are afraid that the Black community will turn to violence as a result of this. The phase that I found very significant in this was, "Cause who are going to protect our peoples?" Abilene is expressing how she feels unsafe from the police force because since there are no Black policemen, she feels that no one can defend her. And an example of this quote is in our daily lives. This can be shown through police brutality. So, in other words, Black and Hispanic men are 2.8 and 1.7 times more likely to be killed by a police officer than a white man. In the quote, Abilene is talking about how the police are targeting only her race. The next quote is on page 78. It reads, "It feels cool, like water washing over my sticky body, cooling a heat that's been burning me up all my life." So to give context about this quote, Abilene is now listening to Skeeter's plane of truth about her realization and how she used to be. This quote suggests that she feels as if she's been speaking and living a life for all her life by not talking about injustice she sees and experiences. When Skeeter says burning, it means that she deeply feels this and that this is an intense situation. This is significant because it shows how she has become to a realization that how she views the African American race is much different than how she used to feel. And the final quote that I'll be analyzing and discussing is on page
198.
After the next one, I started counting. 5, 6, 7. I nod back at them. Can say nothing but thank you. Thank you. Yes, thank you to each one. My relief is bitter that it took you as my interment to bring us to this. 8, 9, 10, 11. So to give context about this quote, Abilene is finding it very difficult to try and convince other maids to tell their stories so that they can publish the book. And rightfully so. If you get caught writing a book about people you worked for in the 1960s, that was a major crime, and you could be sent to jail immediately. Although the turning point for the maids is that when Haley sent a maid by the name of Yule May to jail for trying to sell one of Haley's rings that she hardly ever used. This really upset the other maids, so they decided to write a book that will bring injustice to maids in the South. 11 maids that night went to Adeline's house and all agreed to tell their stories. All that Skeeter could say was thank you. This shows repetition because she repeats the word thank you 3 times in a row. This is significant because it shows her relief of having 11 maids offer to write their stories about them. I know what some of you guys might be thinking. Why is this relevant to me? Or why is this important? In fact, this can be more relevant to you than you think. How many of you feel more authoritative with a group of friends? How many people feel the urge to stand up for what you know is right? Seems like you guys are not very different from the trio from The Help. While I read the book, one of the major literary criticisms that I saw was Marxism. A brief description of Marxism is are looked to as the poor or segregated people of a society fight back against the higher or rich people of society. In this novel, The Help, written by Kathleen Stockett, people feel more empowered when they work together as a group toward a common goal. This can be seen through Abilene trying to get maids to pass their experiences and for it to be known so that she can publish them. This represents Marxism because the maids, who are pretty much as servants, assemble to take power against their bosses by writing a book that could have gotten them arrested. And it wasn't an easy task. It took a lot of nerve and dedication to complete it. But because they worked together, it made them feel like they were the bosses instead of a group of maids. Thank you.